How much influence does Elon Musk actually have over Donald Trump? Well, in some areas, clearly a lot, but where it perhaps matters most, maybe not so much. But Trump's spokeswoman, Karoline Leavitt, wants to pretend that this revelation, we're gonna dive into all this reporting, is much ado about nothing, and they're still the best of buds, the best of bros. So the Washington Post had reported that Musk had apparently made direct appeals to Trump to reverse the sweeping new tariffs. He didn't want it to happen, which would be consistent with Elon Musk's position on this stuff in the past during Trump's first term, to credit Elon Musk. But apparently, and you might have seen this, that's the behind the scenes stuff. Over the weekend, as Elon Musk launched into a barrage of social media posts criticizing one of the lead White House advisors for these tariff plans, Musk was going over that same official's head and making personal appeals to Trump. So he's seeing what happened with China. He's seeing the international markets collapse. And so he goes to Trump and tries to get him to change his mind. The attempted intervention, though, confirmed by two people familiar with the matter who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss private talks, has not brought success so far. Trump threatened Monday to add new 50% tariffs on imports from China to go along with the 34% taxes he announced last week. Fast forward like a month, a pen is gonna cost $50 if it's shipped from China. That's what I think we're cruising towards. But again, like I said, Karoline Leavitt doesn't want you to pay any attention to what Washington Post is saying. She said, the president has put together a remarkable team of highly talented and experienced individuals who bring different ideas to the table, knowing that President Trump is the ultimate decision maker. When he makes a decision, everyone rows in the same direction to execute. That's why this administration has done more in 2 months than the previous admin did in 4 years. And that's this, look, they use that sort of bluster and exaggeration constantly, although in the area of tanking the economy, I do agree they've done more in 2 months than Biden did in 4 years, and they deserve credit for that. Anyway, the idea that he's the ultimate decision maker, as if the fact that he makes all these decisions means that they're good. They're not. The economy's doing terribly, but also you don't all row in the same direction, okay? Because he announced the tariffs, days go by, and then Musk is doing a pressure campaign in public against some of the advisors and in private against Trump. Clearly, they're not rowing in the same direction, and you wouldn't have all the leaks that you're having. Again, Elon Musk didn't reveal this, at least as far as I know, but multiple sources inside the administration leaked to the Washington Post that Musk had been doing that. That's multiple people very much not rowing in the same direction. And so anyway, Musk doesn't want these tariffs. Again, we disagree with him on a million things. Maybe in this we agree. Musk he's literally calling for a free trade zone between Europe and the United States. 0 tariffs overall, which you couldn't go further from Trump's policies. Anyway, Yaz, I'm curious what you make of this potential widening gap between them on this policy.
Yeah, so when these tariffs were announced, Elon, he did come out and say that Tesla would also feel the pain of these tariffs because while Tesla is an American company, many of the car's parts are manufactured overseas. And at the time, I said that this was just a really weak attempt from Elon to appear selfless, as if, he too is willing to sacrifice his bottom line for the sake of the greater good, for this thing that he so believes in, that this thing that will ultimately, right the American and the global economies. But now we're seeing that Elon wasn't necessarily trying to appear selfless. He was making a plea to the president. He was saying, no, I'm not happy or willing to sacrifice for any greater good. He was saying he wants to feel less pain. He was saying that he wanted to be exempt from all of this hurt that he was helping to inflict on others. He was saying, this isn't what I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into Trump's political campaign for. He invested all that money because he wanted political favor, because he wanted exceptionalism. He wanted to be the one person who was able to kind of glide over everything, right? Because as the richest man in the world, quote unquote, he does kind of live this very strange existence where he lives outside of government or above all these world leaders because he has so much money that he can literally buy leverage over them. But Leavitt, she was right when she said that Trump does what he wants. And the reason he's been able to move so quickly and so recklessly in the 2 months that he's been president is because the Republicans, up until this very moment, have completely supported and backed everything he's ever said and done.
Yeah.
He hardly has anyone holding him accountable, at least not in any real way. He does not care about what Ted Cruz says about him on Ted Cruz's podcast. We already know that he doesn't respect Ted Cruz or like him. Nobody likes Ted Cruz. And Donald Trump certainly he doesn't care about the hundreds of thousands of Americans who have turned out to protest against him and his policies across the entire country from east to west and everywhere in between. Trump is going to do whatever he wants to do because that's the life that he's used to living. He does what he wants to because he can and because no one is going to stop him. And arguably, the time to stop him would have been a very long time ago. This was all inevitable. And Republicans, including Elon Musk, they're the ones who ensured this inevitability. So I don't feel bad for Elon Musk that his own bottom line is now being wrapped up in this tornado that he helped to enable.
Yeah. I love, by the way, that normally when you're on the show, we give you like a Texas story. And we didn't have one, unfortunately, really. Although I would have loved for you to comment on the Greg Abbott stuff. But I love that you tore into Ted Cruz regardless. So that's fun.
Can't help myself.
You'll take those opportunities where you can.
I do.
Before we move on, I just want to mention that there's one other Musk who apparently has an issue with what's happening right now. Kimball Musk said, "Who would have thought that Trump was actually the most high tax American president in generations? Through his tariff strategy, Trump has implemented a structural permanent tax on the American consumer." And the thing about that is that that's right. That's just 100% right. There's a Musk who knows what he's talking about. Anyway, apparently a lot of business leaders behind the scenes have organized over the last weekend to try to pressure Trump to back off. And they've been no more successful than Elon Musk so far. And so there is very much, it's the exact sort of pressure campaign that we would have predicted. Because like vocally, almost all these people, the tech elites, the Republicans, the pundits, all that have to pretend that this is a genius move, 3D chess or whatever. But they're hurting financially even more than we are. So they're gonna do whatever they can behind the scenes to change it. What's fascinating is how much less effective that is than it was in the first term. Because Trump wanted to do this exact same thing the first time he was president, and they pushed back against it, and he balked. And this time he's not. He's pushing forward regardless of the damage, not just the hypothetical damage, but the damage that we're actually seeing. And it's one thing for like anonymous business leaders to so utterly fail to influence him, but like, he seems to really like Elon Musk, and he certainly needs Elon Musk's continued support to win the midterms, maybe for his third presidential run, and still it didn't seem to work. If you enjoyed that, then make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? Well, when you do that, you get access to bonus content that I make every single week, and it's a lot of fun. You get custom emojis and more. If you join at tier 3, by the way, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself. And you'll get all that going forward, but you'll also unlock years of the back catalog that is literally 100 or more bonus clips and top 10 lists and debates and more. So what are you waiting for?